What are you saying, ladies and gents? It is your boy BucketHatSam, and yes, we are back again for episode 6 of BucketHatSam Talks Ball, and we've got Mike on again. He's here all the time now. He's basically a permanent resident, and I said it last week, and I promise you, I'm going to give you a bucket hat. You've got one yourself, sure. You being a massive fan.
If you want me to wear it next time, I can.
Next time, because do you know what? I made a joke about it last week, and I actually did have a few messages of people saying send Mike a bucket hat. Like I genuinely did. So I apologise.
But you did.
I will show. Do you know what? I will show you after. I have got a couple of messages where people have said he'd look good in one, but let's not boost your ego a bit. But
I'd look good in most things, but
but no, we've got loads of stuff to talk about, loads of football stuff. But I want to start off again, as we keep saying, let's get to know each other. I say not we know each other, as in let the audience get to know us a bit. Mike, what is the best ground you've ever been to? Straight in there.
It's got to be the Emirates, of course. The home of football. No, probably the new camp. Haven't been for a game, but even just like going and walking around the place, it's different to anything we've got here in England, and like it stands alone in Europe as for like the sheer size of that stadium is just ridiculous. You don't realise until you stood on the pitch and you look up. It's just enormous.
I was going to say, I've done the tour of it as well a few years back, and I remember being absolutely blown away by it, thinking I can imagine the atmosphere in here would be absolutely unreal. We do need to do that. I feel like that should be on the list of a ground we need to do. We should do them. We need to create just a big list, because I've got hundreds I want to do. The more I look into it, the more you research, you find some really obscure ones. I think it's Braga is the one I really, really want to go to. I've never been to.
Yeah, that looks good.
The one with the map. So one of my mates, obviously, when Wolves went on that European tour, we don't need to talk about that really in depth because they'll be too pleased about the fact they're getting a mention. But with the mountain built into the side, it does look absolutely unreal. But that's one I want to go to. But the best ground I've been to, and this is not, I like the Emirates. It's up there. I do really like the Emirates, and it's probably just because of the comfy seats. And I always joke about it. I just love the seats. I'm not all for sitting down at football games. I like standing up, but it's the only game.
It's so comfy. You can't resist.
It's the only game I've been to as an away fan, and people are actually actively sitting down and like choosing to sit down because it's just so nice and warm. Like I remember I've said to you before, we lost 1-0. And it was one of my first ever away days on a weeknight, and it's about 2007, 2008. I think I did look into this. We drew 1-1. No, we lost 1-0. We got an early red card, but the only thing I took from it, not only was Jerome Thomas slapping Jack Wilshere off the ball, it was how comfy them seats were. I love it, and we're going back soon, so I'm quite excited. I haven't been in ages and over a decade. I can't wait. I'm actually quite excited for that. I am quite excited. But I'd probably say Besiktas was probably my not Besiktas, Benfica. I didn't see you need to say that, Benfica.
I wouldn't want to go to the Besiktas stadium.
That's not what I meant. I was going to say that wasn't what I was trying to say. I was trying to say Benfica. I was chatting to somebody earlier today about Besiktas ground, but no, Benfica. Benfica's ground was actually built, and they basically styled it upon Emirates. The way they've built it, they've tried to take what is good about the Emirates and kind of improve it. And I thought it was great, really good ground. And I think they're sponsored by Superboc, so they'd got Superboc for really cheap outside, and it was the beautiful beer. Oh, the beer was lovely. It was really nice. I'm all for it. And you could have it in the ground. You could take it up the seats, which is what I'm all about. You can drink in the ground. It's amazing. You can't beat it. No. Well, okay, then. I've already answered what ground I want to go to with my Braga shout. How about you? Is there any grounds that you want to do?
There's one that I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I've always just had a pull to it. And it's that La Bombonera, the Boca Stadium. I think that's right.
Mate,
and it just looks... I don't know how I'm going to get to Argentina or whatever, but it looks amazing. And like the atmosphere in there, when they've got all like these stringy banners going across, and like it just looks like nothing you could ever imagine in a football stadium, really.
I completely agree with you. I've said it for ages. I would love, the dream would to be doing a football tour of South America. There is actually a channel I'm watching currently. There's guys who I've met through online who's going through like Mexico and all these countries through South America into football grounds. And the atmosphere at those games is absolutely unreal. Like it makes the English football like celebrations and fans and limbs just seem like absolutely nothing. They live for football.
It's carnage, isn't it?
Oh, it looks great. I would love to get That's the plan. Get a deal with a brand or something in the future, like a really long far down the future, and just go on a tour and just I'll go missing for 10 months just watching football.
We'll have the pod on tour. We'll go around
the pod on tour,
recording at all these different stadiums.
Oh, that would be class. Well, we can dream. We can dream. And I'm still waiting. We're still getting closer to that. How many was it? 3 million subscribers. Then you'll dye your hair red and get the mohawk. Well, we're closer. We're probably about 15 subscribers closer. So we're knocking off the tally slowly. We'll get there. We'll get there. So if you haven't, guys, already, please subscribe, because Mike said he'll get a red mohawk. So thank you, guys. I appreciate it. But no, I want to go now right into the Premier League, where we always talk about the sack race. It feels weird talking about this after there were so many sackings and it just died down. I feel like there's starting to be like a bit of a tremor in the old managerial sack race, because we're starting to see some clubs' form really starting to dip. And we're going to start off with Everton, Rafa Benitez. I'll let you lead with this, mate. What are you saying about it, or what are your thoughts?
It's a tricky one. I feel for Rafa in a way, because we know he's not a bad manager, and his hand has been forced a bit by like the injuries. Obviously, losing Calvert-Lewin, your best player, and he's so influential for them, the goals he gets, and just his general hold-up play. Not having that, and not having Richarlison after the season, and they actually started quite well, didn't they? Well, they were right up there in like third.
Oh yeah. At one point, the form they had when they had those two, wasn't it?
And that was with even a depleted squad then. So then you thought the Rafa Benitez thing, after the not very warm reception he got, you think, oh, maybe they'll take to him a bit. And then since then, is it five losses out of 6?
Yeah, they've lost 5 in the last 6, yeah, and they're now 6 points off the relegation.
And you can see the fans have started to turn. It just doesn't bode well. When he's got that Liverpool connection, there was doubts at the start of the season. It's just not a good look, and you do question how long it can last. But I don't feel like it's Rafa's fault, but he's the one that will get the blame, because who else can it be, really?
I was going to say, you can't really you can blame the players, but the players never seem to get blamed in these situations. It's always the managers that get sad. I do, as he shared, completely with Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison. They have been very unlucky with that. But again, I look at this squad and I don't think it's that strong. I look at it when I was comparing it man for man. I think they've got some very good players. But I think, like, for example, like Luca Digne, I don't think has had the best season. He's not been playing too well. A lot of players have dipped in form that previously were unreal, if you know what I'm trying to say there. But yes, Zaha and not Zaha, Townsend and Damari Gray, them two have been absolutely brilliant. But it's crazy that they're relying on players like that they spent $2.5 million on the two of them, when they've got players like Alex Iwobi. I know you're glad he's got a mention, because you're still probably thinking about all that cash Arsenal got for him. But they're turning to players they shouldn't really be turning to. They've got some good players in that squad, and they've kind of really gone missing. They're not the players they used to be.
I don't know if they have got that many good players, though. Like, obviously they've been without Calvert-Lewin, and for a team as big as Everton, with the stature that Everton have, if Richarlison's not there, who doesn't play number 9 anyway, if their only backup is a 47-year-old Salomon Rondon.
Super Rondon.
I know a lot of the Baggage fans have got attachments to him, but he's just not a Premier League player anymore. He's a million miles off the pace. I don't know what he does. I don't know what he contributes. And to have to rely on someone like that, that's where I feel sorry for Rafa, because what other options have they got?
But Rafa did pick him. Rafa took him. Obviously, he took him to Newcastle. He took it with him. I'm pretty sure he took him to China, didn't they? When he went to manage in China, I'm pretty sure he took him there. That's where West Brom sold him to. But I do get what you mean. Rondon obviously has been a West Brom fan. He was brilliant in his prime, but he's not. I say his prime. He was never really at his prime, was he? I'm exaggerating there. In the Pulis era, he was a good player.
6 goals a season, all from set pieces. He's prime.
That was prime as a West Brom fan. That's a prime. That's a striker in their prime. But no, I do feel for him in that sense. But then they've bought in the summer, but they just didn't spend much, which surprised me, because recently in previous years, when you look back, their transfer policy was spend big.
I've gone in and looked at everything spending, because
bit of prep.
This is where I feel a bit sorry for Rafa, but the club needs to be run better. So over the past 7 seasons, they have spent £568 million.
Jeez.
And like you look at their squad, and what have they got to show for it really, other than Richarlison? I've got some of the names and the fees here, and it's just ridiculous. It won't be 27 mil. Whoever, we bit their hand off as soon as they were interested in him.
Oh Jesus, I remember.
Gabani, 22 mil, has played about 6 games for them.
Yeah, you don't see much of him. He's never really had a shout, has he?
Sigurdsson, 45 mil. Like we don't know what's going on with him at the moment.
I was going to say, let's be careful what we say on there.
But 45 mil was steep, even when it was like 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, when he was playing, yeah.
Davy Klaassen, 25 million. Who?
And he was gone. Yeah, he went instantly, didn't he? He lasted literally. That was in the Koeman era. That was when Ronald Koeman came in and he bought loads of centre
the names are just terrible. Like none of them have contributed anything.
Theo Walcott is another shout.
Morgan Schneiderlin and Cenk Tosun were 20 million each. And they're just gone out of the squad straight away. So the recruitment there is awful. There's something wrong about the way the club's being run, because it just doesn't seem right. They haven't had a fit with a manager and the hierarchy for quite a while, probably since Martinez was there.
Yeah. But it goes back to this thing I always joke about every week. So I always seem to end up coming back to it and saying it's the big picture. It's a long-term project. I don't look at Everton and see the plan. The transfer, as you said, the transfer policies all over the place. You mentioned players there who were aging as it is, or they didn't fit a style. You don't look at Everton. And obviously, you know what Rafa Benitez is going to play. It's very rigid. It's usually defensively solid. And it's a hard to beat team that do play some nice football. But you look at them now and look at them in recent years, the signings they've made, how do they fit any system? I just don't get the big picture, as I keep coming back to.
There's no strategy there. It's just we'll see someone who looks half decent somewhere else and we'll take a chance on him.
Yeah.
That's about it.
I'm not sure. And I know obviously under Martinez, when I think it was Europa League football at that time, and David Moyes, they had that for quite a long period of time. I remember when I was younger, they were always in that top half of the table, pushing towards Europa League or in Europa League. They are a big team.
Moyes doing Moyes things.
It was. They are a huge club, and they've just not hit the heights, and they've kind of just thrown cash at it. And I think they need to step back and really just plan and start building something. Give a manager some time as well, because they go through managers like it's absolutely nothing. If you look at the amount of managers they've had in recent years, they don't back anyone. And as soon as what happens then is you back a manager, you give them money, they buy loads of players and you sack them, and then the next manager doesn't want them, doesn't suit
the one that was probably frustrating for Everton fans is Ancelotti, because he came in, he instantly galvanised the club and everyone around it, got given a fair bit of money, saw some positive results, and then it just faded throughout the season. And then obviously Real Madrid come calling and he's off. And then that left them a bit shocked, because I think he had a long-term contract.
Oh yeah, it was a big contract.
To leave after 1 year, James is on the books at God knows how much money, and he just doesn't want to play anymore.
Well, he's somewhere else, isn't he? Isn't he? I thought he'd left. I might be wrong.
I think he's still under contract.
Oh, is it?
I don't think he's playing for anyone else.
Oh, I thought he'd gone. To be honest, I'd completely forgotten about him until very recently. He was one of those players. At
the start of last season, it looked great for them, didn't it? When he was in form, and
with Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin, they looked very strong. With Allen behind as well, and Decore.
So there was positive signs there, and then obviously Ancelotti goes, and it's all. Obviously, they couldn't have planned for that, so it's hard for them as a club and the fans to then move on. And Rafa was a bit of a panic decision. Obviously, there's the Liverpool link, so the fan base was never going to welcome him.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It was always a bit going to be tainted, really.
The kind of players I do like those, like the Allen signing and the Decore signing, I think them two are really strong, good players. Decore, I think he's still injured, isn't he? He's been out for a while now. I'm pretty sure. Did he come back?
Yeah,
did he come back? Yeah, because I think he was a huge miss, because I didn't realise he was providing a lot of assists and goals, and defensively, at box to box, he gave you so much energy. So he's a player I do think they've been unlucky to miss. And maybe Rafa Benitez might be able to turn it around when they've got their injuries coming back. But he's putting a lot of pressure on himself, because he does need results fast, with the likes of Norwich starting to pick up form and I say Norwich, but yeah, you know what I mean. They have picked up form. Really, Dean Smith has kind of galvanised them.
There's a few teams like Villa have got 2 wins there, instantly climbing up the table.
Yeah, so that bottom part now of the table, your likes of Norwich, your Watford, your Newcastle, Burnley, Leeds, and Southampton, all in that. I think it's about 6-7 points gap between all of them. It's not looking nice. Everton should not be in that mix. Everton should be a lot higher, especially when you've spoken about the amount they've spent. They cannot. I know, obviously, spending money doesn't just mean you will get results, but it adds the pressure that you should be getting results. So really, it shouldn't be a discussion. But I would be worried if I was him, because you saw the reaction of the fans.
I think ultimately the squad is far too good to go down. Like, if you look at the teams around them, like, it's a top half Premier League squad. They just need Calvert-Lewin fit, and I think that would change everything. It would change the whole dynamic.
Yeah, I agree. But a club like Everton shouldn't just have to rely on one striker. No. Like, they should be in a situation where they have backup players, or even, you know what I'm trying to say, just backup players in all positions, because they seem to, if one player drops out, the next player who comes in, it just doesn't look right. Is it Anthony Gordon, though? Is that right? Have I got that right?
Yeah, he looks
good. He looks good. It's good to see a bit of youth coming through, but it doesn't help when they're not playing well, really, does it? Because it's not really going to shine too brightly. But I saw Everton fans were extremely frustrated. I saw the clips. If you haven't seen them on Twitter already, guys, go check it out. They were not happy with the players, giving them a lot of stick at the end of the game. And you can see this toxic environment is starting to really build. And that doesn't help any team, because they need the backing of the fans. And I get why they're frustrated, but it just piles again, more pressure and more pressure and more pressure.
I think the frustration is, like, sometimes you don't get results, and that's fine. But it's the manner in which these defeats have come about.
Oh, yeah, no, I agree.
Benitez has set them up to sit so deep and soak up all this pressure. But if you concede one, then your game plan's out the window. And that's how they've set up for all these games. It's just deep defend. And it looks terrible. Like, if you're a fan watching, it looks like you're setting up every game for a draw. Like, it must be so demoralising going and spending your money and watching. Well, you probably know all too well.
I was going to say, I can speak from experience. I remember I had this for about 2 seasons, and this is why I dropped my season ticket as a fan at West Brom. This came around the time of my GCSEs. I needed more time to revision, and I wasn't enjoying the football. So that's when I got rid of my season ticket. So I only know exactly how Everton fans are feeling. It is not nice. It's one thing losing, as I said, but if you're playing not good, if you're playing awful football, you don't even like seeing the draws. When you do occasionally get the result, it doesn't seem nice. You're just like, you know what, I don't think we deserve it at all. But no, hopefully I do like Rafa as a manager. I like his interviews. I think he's a great manager, and I do hope he does well. But I do think at the moment, I'd currently say he is probably the favourite for the sack race. Yeah, so he's leading the way at the moment. I think following in second at the moment, I say following in second, this could be a discussion, because there are a couple of managers who I can never see them getting sacked, but there is starting. You can see there's starting to be a bit of unrest behind the scenes. A lot of fans are starting to get on his back. Marco Bielsa at Leeds, I can't believe I'm saying this, but the way they've got off to this season, the start they've had, is awful. They've won 2 games all season. We're quite far into the season. You look at last season, how well they started, and they came out the blocks. Is this a second season syndrome? What would you describe it as? What?
I think it is. And I think it was obvious to see that this was coming from Leeds, because towards the end of last season, you started to see that teams could figure them out tactically. They could let them go gung-ho, all guns blazing for a period, probably the first half. And if they can weather that, then they know they're going to tire. And you can see, like, you can see the game plans people put in place for Leeds later in the season. They struggled to get results. And then, so second season syndrome is a thing, combined with people starting to figure Leeds out. They haven't got a plan B of playing a different way, because Bielsa has just drilled this into them. Just run. And they don't have a plan B. That's all they know. So I think it was easy to see coming. The recruitment, they've got Dan James in. Great.
Yeah, and then Junior Firpo. They've signed a few players, but
like, and then you look at the defence, you're still starting Liam Cooper. So it's not, when you're trying to push on in the Premier League, it's not really. And players like Luke Ayling, as good as he was, is he really good enough to progress? But they're not in a position to progress yet. That's why they've got to solidify themselves.
Yeah. I think a lot of it comes back to, similar with Everton, with the Bamford injury, with Bamford being out for so long, the goals just they don't score. And that's the thing with Leeds before last season, it was them scoring non-stop and them attacking and creating loads of chances. But yes, Bamford didn't take a lot of the chances. He does miss a lot and he does get a lot of stick for it. But they've got no one else who seems to put the ball away. Rafinha got off to he had a bit of a dry patch. Obviously, in recent weeks, in the last month or so, we're starting to see the player that he was. But he got off to a dry patch. And when your two talismen haven't got off to a start, it's difficult to create anything, especially when you are based on scoring goals and attacking. And if you don't do that, what have you got going for you? They're quite defensively vulnerable a lot of the times because they do go so far forward, and obviously the man-to-man system, it will tire. And I think at times like this, I do worry for Bielsa coming into this December time and January time when the games are coming thick and fast. We'll occasionally get the double game weeks like we see this week, where you've got games coming in at midweek and things like that coming up to January time. This is the worst time, I think, with Leeds not having form. If they're playing with this amount of energy, thick and fast every single week, maybe even twice a week, I worry for them, and I worry for Marco Bielsa. But then I don't know whether because of his stature and what everyone sees him as, I can't see them sacking him either. But I think it's a discussion, because I think in a couple of weeks' time, maybe a few weeks' time, I think there may potentially be a lot more pressure on them. Because I do worry, because they are not. Go for it.
I think it'd have to get pretty desperate for them to actually sack him. Like, they are in the bottom three with so many games remaining. I can't see them, if they're floating above and hovering, I think they're going to back him, aren't they?
Well, I think at the moment they're 3 points off the drop zone, and they've only won 1 in 6. So I think like it's not the best of runs, and they are struggling. But you've just got to hope that Norwich and all these other clubs, if you're a Bielsa, don't carry on this form, because they need to find their feet soon. And it's a lot nicer. Obviously, this is really stating the obvious, but if you're starting to fall behind and constantly think, we've got enough time to pick up form, we've got enough time, and next thing you know, you're falling down the table fast, and then you're getting down low. But is there anything else you'd like to add about that with Marco Bielsa? Because I think what we've said is enough, really. I think it'll be interesting to see. I think this is a proper discussion in a few weeks' time.
Enough.
I think a few weeks' time.
I can't see Leeds sacking him just because of what he's done, and like the image Leeds fans have built up about him. Like he's loved there, and I think he always will be. So I can't see, unless it was really, really bad, where maybe towards the end of the season, if they're
still floating around there,
and 6-7 games left, maybe they'll take a chance, but I'm not sure.
I think with him, it's going to slowly segment into our next and final club of the decision of the sack race. Like with Rafa Benitez, when he left Newcastle, the fans haven't been happy since Rafa's gone with managerial appointments. But obviously, they've got an Eddie Howe. His first 2 games. I'm not saying for a second he's in the sack race. Don't like jump on me before I'm saying it. 2 games in, I'm not calling for the sack. But can you see Newcastle with the new way they're going forward and long-term project with the money they're trying to invest? Do you think they're starting to worry with the fact that they haven't had this bounce back we all thought they would? I know they obviously got a draw.
I think it's far too early to worry. They've got a draw against Brentford when Eddie Howe wasn't even in the stadium, and then they face Arsenal when you're not expected to get a result, and it's his first game in charge. So no, I don't think there's time to hit the panic button yet. I think you've got to give a manager games like before talk about this.
Don't worry. I'm not. I'm just saying potentially in a week's time, by Saturday.
Not even in a week.
No. By Saturday they'll have played the other two teams in the drop zone currently with them. They're playing against Burnley and Norwich. I don't know it's Norwich then Burnley, and who are both 3 points ahead of them. This is huge for him, and I feel for him that these games have come so early. But at the same time, this is their moment. If they're going to get this momentum, they're going to start building something. They need to do it now. So this is going to be huge for Newcastle and Eddie Howe, because this could affect them in the long term as well so much. Because if they are going to invest all this money, this I think is the moment where they will start something, and we'll look back at this if they've got 2 wins in years to come when they do potentially become this powerhouse or pushing up the table. And this was the time when they really needed a manager to come in and do something, and Eddie Howe did. So who knows? But I think this is huge for Newcastle. This week of football is massive.
I think in the 2 games, they've shown, because of Eddie Howe's input, they have shown a lot more attacking effort and will to go forward. Like, they scored 3 goals. How often have we seen Newcastle do that?
No. For ages.
even against us, they were trying to get bodies forward, like trying to get people in support of Wilson. So I think a bit more time on the training ground, I think they'll get a result from those two.
Yeah, I just hope he just stays and does focus on the defence, because especially in that Brentford game, there was a lot of errors in that Brentford game.
Yeah.
There's a lot of mistakes. The defence is not good enough, and that's something that they really need to focus on, because whether they're in a relegation battle or not, defence is huge for you when you're in those battles. Again, as I said, as a West Brom fan, I've seen it for many years. You need to build on that defence, and they look quite poor defensively at the moment.
I'm going to throw something at you.
Oh, here we go.
I know you love your Burnley, but it's not looking good for them at the moment. And
you know what?
said
I had purposely.
I'd purposely not talked good for Burnley, really.
Well, I purposely hadn't brought up Burnley because I hadn't written them on my list, but I knew you were going to talk about it. So
they've
you know
got
what?
a game in hand on everyone, but they're just not performing. They're not scoring particularly. They got 3 against Palace, but
this is the Burnley way.
This doesn't feel like the Burnley of previous, where they were grinding out results.
But I don't know. At the start of every season, this happens, and then we all have this discussion around Christmas time. Is this the year they don't stay? But they're usually in and around this area. But they've got, as I said, they've got to play Newcastle on the weekend. If they get a win against Newcastle, they're out the drop zone, I think, on goal difference, or potentially with the way it falls.
Yeah, they are.
Literally one win and they're out the drop zone. And then in a couple of weeks' time, they could have got a draw here and there. And next thing you know, they're out of it. I back Burnley. I know that's completely against what I've just said about Newcastle.
If Newcastle win, they're level on points with them. And you said all that about Newcastle. They'd be level on points with Burnley.
I know, this is where you actually see my biased opinion here, where I don't know what it is about Burnley. It's just that team. It's that togetherness, that system, the way they play. And against, say, a Newcastle side, which defensively have been quite poor in recent weeks, with the way they play, those early balls in constantly, peppering those crosses coming in, with the way Newcastle have been defending recently, I don't see how they can get a result. I don't know if you agree, but I think it's so difficult. If you cannot defend, you need to be organised.
You can't call clashes like that, can you? It's literally a relegation.
Well, I've just called it.
You don't know how they're gonna.
I've just called it. I'll say it again. Burnley will beat Newcastle.
Is it at Burnley?
I don't know. Is it?
It is, I think.
There we go. That screams 3 points. Screams a Chris Wood goal, and it screams a Dwight McNeil or a Charlie Taylor assist from that.
I'm going to go
side.
Draw.
Or even, but they've got Maxwell Cornet as well. Cornet, however you want to say. Okay. Well, do you know what? We can look back and we can either laugh at you or laugh at me. We know what's going to happen here. Burnley will grind out results, and Sean Dyche is not in the sack race.
No, I'm not saying he's in the sack race.
Well, to be honest, Eddie Howe wasn't really. I'm going to
throw Hasenhüttl.
This again is a really interesting one.
They just get battered when they lose. They get battered.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like, that is not a good look.
But the thing is, and they go on runs where they play absolutely unreal, and their high press football can sometimes get some absolutely like ridiculous results where you don't see them coming. They play some nice football, and I don't know, they're just really the peaks and troughs with them, the way they go up and down, their form dips in and out so much. I'd say they're just a very inconsistent side, and they're one again that I can't see them getting relegated. But I keep saying this about loads of teams. I don't really know with all when I think about who actually is going to get relegated, because there are so many teams where I think, can they not? It's like Watford. Watford again are already very inconsistent since Claudio Ranieri's come in. They've had some good results, but they've also had some really stinky results. Like this, for example, this weekend. But then the Man United game and the Everton game was huge. But then against Liverpool, they were awful. That's the thing. Again, it's up and down. There's no one really consistent at the bottom, really, around that area. But obviously, they wouldn't be there if they're consistent. I know it's a real statement in the obvious. But I don't know. The more we talk about all these teams in and around this relegation zone, the more it just confuses me. And I don't know what to make of it. Again, Southampton, they've got a squad in it that they shouldn't be around there, I don't think, personally.
But then they are every season. We say, like, they shouldn't be that squad, but every season they're around it. So
yeah, they just have that little cushion, don't they? They pick up just before the end of the season.
I'm not convinced on Hasenhüttl. I think, yes, he'll get a few good, and they always start the season well. But I think if you're getting beat by 5, 6, 7 goals every now and then, it's not good. Like, what was it when it was it United beat them 9, or was it City?
Yeah,
I can't.
United beat them 9. I think Leicester beat them 8. Was it something like that in the
I
space
just
of
don't
a
know how
year?
you can trust a manager like that if
I
you're
remember
getting
because Ryan,
absolutely tanked.
yeah, Ryan Bertrand got the red card against Leicester, and I think a youngster got a red card against United. It was both early on red cards, and then it just went to pot, and they just didn't sit back. They constantly just tried to press, and then they just rolled over and just allowed sides to do that. You shouldn't, as you said, you should not have that in your DNA of a side,
No.
and that's
In
my
the
worry with them.
Premier
They do
League, like
roll
the
over.
standard of this league now, you shouldn't be there should not be any more than like a 5-goal buffer to any
Yeah,
of the teams, really.
you allow really with Liverpool and Man City and Chelsea at the moment with the way those three are playing, you can kind of accept it with those three.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't really be conceding that many against Man United or even against Leicester. With Leicester, their inconsistency. Brendan Rodgers, again, I know they've had a good result this weekend, but Leicester have not started very well this year. They have not been up to standard.
No.
But again, I can't see him getting sacked.
No, you wouldn't get sacked.
We are just throwing in names now. We're just talking about managers. But let's move on then to, I can't believe we're talking about this. West Brom. Do you think West Brom are going to get promoted? Like, I just want to hear. I don't.
No.
And my dream is slowly fading. The
I think
candle is
you'll finish third.
where we are now. Yeah, we're currently 8 points off Bournemouth.
Fulham are going to win it. Fulham are going to win it.
We've seen though in recent weeks, Fulham have dipped in form. Bournemouth have dipped in form, but also West Brom have dipped in form. The top three have all dipped, but I think Fulham have been without Mitrovic for a few weeks. And as soon as Mitrovic isn't there, the goals have gone. I think Tim Ream popped up with one this week. Bournemouth have been troubled, like absolutely riddled with injuries. And this is the moment where, obviously being a West Brom fan, I'm going to be slightly biased, but this is the moment where you were looking at it thinking, this is our chance. The two sides who have been leading this race, leading the way, have dipped in form. We really should have stepped up, and we've literally shown absolutely nothing.
This is because I watched your game on Friday.
I know I got you to watch it, and I feel bad, to be honest. I haven't apologised yet, so I am sorry.
If the other two are dipping in form, there's your chance to go and set the bar for the weekend, get 3 points, put them under a little bit of pressure. And Forest started the game well. Albion started to come into it, and then there's the red card, but at no point did Albion really like just throw caution to the wind and think, right, 3 points here. It was just a bit safe. It was just a bit sane. There wasn't that many. The amount of times people got into the final third, and there's just no one in the penalty box.
Yeah, like, and then you bring on Hugo, and we just need a striker.
You're not going to win games if there's no one in the penalty box. You're not going to score, and then what's the point?
No, I know. When you look at our top goal scorers,
you need to go for it. You need midfielders breaking into the box. You need a target man.
Which I think we did earlier on in the season when we had Alex Mowat, and when it feels weird saying this, but Livermore was occasionally breaking forward, and this Malumbi who's come in has got it in him. I think he shows flickers of it, but then he stupid challenge on Friday getting a red card. But
silly.
I think because they play very silly. But it's constant. Like if we keep playing this high energy football, you can't expect players to keep breaking through. Like we're not literally mixing up the squad. It's the same squad every single week.
Is it high energy football?
Well, it was at the start of the season. It was like headless chickens. We'd press everything. There was energy. It was ridiculous. It was 11 players just pressing non-stop. And you've seen players like Alex Mowat, who've literally, the only time he had a rest was when he got injured for a couple of games. But everyone just looks tired. And I think they need a real reshuffle. And I know we won't invest in January, but if we're not going to get promoted with this squad, but I say that, but I've said it all season. We're going to get promoted, and I've got to stick to my guns. My candle there is going. Let's use my metaphor. There's a candle. The light is starting to flicker out. It's nearly dying, but it's still lit. It's still there, nearly there, and I'm still back in West Brom. So I'm still going to say we're going to get promoted. I'm going to try and stay hopeful, but it's not ideal. It's not the best of situations to be in, because when I looked at this season, I thought we quite easily would walk out of this league. We should have. Because I thought Sheffield United were going to do it with us. And obviously, Djukanovic has been sacked. That went all to pot. It didn't go well with them. And they've got a good squad again. Paul Heckingbottom's come in for them. And you think when you look at that, surely then West Brom would be going for it with Bournemouth not having the strongest of squads. But we've missed our chance, I think. And it's starting to get me upset. So can we please move on? Because I will just start crying. I'm really sorry. It's not even like I can come back to you and laugh about Arsenal, because you're playing nice football. You're playing well, and it annoys me. I prefer if we're both doing awful, or we're both doing amazing. So then we both can be on the same level. Because you're coming into this pod really happy, occasionally just dropping in about Arsenal, and then I don't even want to talk about West Brom. I just, look at me. I don't know what you want.
I'm staying quiet.
Thank you, mate. I appreciate it. But tonight you mentioned it's the Ballon d'Or whilst we're recording this. So the players getting announced and things. By the time this goes out, the Ballon d'Or will have happened. We will have seen. But at this point, just before we started recording, we saw Harry Kane was 23rd. And Gabriel Jesus was it. And
Jesus and Sterling are above Kane.
Which, how on earth has that happened? Like, how I don't even know how to. I'd literally written Ballon d'Or, and then as we would literally just start to record, we were just quickly looking at the players coming in. How is this even what is going on? Gabriel Jesus, how is he even in the discussion anyway? Like,
it's a bit.
There are 10
ridiculous.
players ahead of him at Man City, but I don't even know what to say about that. There's not really much we can say about that. Who do you think, realistically, your top three, the three favourites really at this time? And again, it's not really a discussion. It's Lewandowski, Jorginho, and Messi.
I'm not having Jorginho in there. I'm not having this.
Well, we can slander him. I want in that order. I want to know what your top three, because I think it's the
I
same
can
as
bin
me.
Jorginho off.
Yeah,
Put him in the bin.
Jorginho is, no matter what, like, we joke about it, but at the moment he's favourite. He is in the top three, like considered according to the bookies and everything that's been leaked and things. He has made the top three, which
So
is
I've got to have him.
It's got to be in the top.
Ballon d'Or, or is it?
No. This is
the top
out
three?
out those three. Who? What in what order? I feel like
Jorginho third.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't want to speak about it anymore. Shouldn't even be in the top five, really.
No, I agree. And then
Messi.
I know. To be honest, I knew
he's got to win. Come on,
he has to. And I think
we had all the slander about he hasn't won a major international tournament, and then he's carried Argentina to the Copa Libertadores, whatever, Copa America, not Libertadores.
I was about to say
most goals, most assists, most man of the matches, like MVP of the tournament or whatever, and try and say the Euros is a more difficult competition to win. It might be in the latter stages. In the early stages, it's not. The teams Argentina have to face to beat through those rounds are probably a lot harder oppositions than we faced in the Euros.
Yeah.
And then to lift, well, we've seen what's happened with Barcelona this season, to then lift them to a Copa del Rey and Champions League finish last season with that squad, and like we are seeing how bad they are now. Like, it's awful.
Yeah.
It's terrible watching Barca at the moment. And putting up the numbers he did all at his age, it's got to be him. And Lewandowski can feel hard done by because there wasn't a Ballon d'Or last year, which would have been his.
Yeah, it is a shame.
That shouldn't influence the vote for this season.
And I don't think it will. I don't think everything is suggesting that Messi's won it. And I think he will do. And by the time this has gone out, I can't imagine we're going to look stupid. I completely agree. Everything you've said, there's not really a discussion with it. It's just, how on earth, and is there something wrong with the Ballon d'Or, with the fact that Jorginho is even in this discussion? And I want to understand, why is it that, how can we not separate with individuals winning things? Like, obviously Jorginho won the Champions League and he won the Euros with Italy, but he didn't single-handedly do this. When you look at Chelsea, you look at the players in the big moments, you wouldn't, when you think of that Chelsea star that won the Champions League, the first name you wouldn't think of in that final throughout of it was because of Jorginho.
He was probably like one of the most consistent players, but
he's not that star player, is he?
No, to be talked about for a Ballon d'Or. But on the Ballon d'Or, it is a flawed thing. Like, it's an individual award in a team game. It doesn't, like, I'm happy that Messi's will get it and will have the most, because he deserves it. He deserves everything he deserves. He is God. Messi for life, always. But and the voting system, it's just a bit strange. It doesn't really like add up. You got some players, some like media, coaches. I'm not convinced on it. Really,
I completely agree. But it's how there's the biggest flaw for me is how you can compare a striker to a right back or a striker to a centre back,
and we've seen like the lack of defenders that win it, or goalies. Well, there is. I think the last defender was like in the 90s.
Yeah, obviously you've had keepers get mentioned and things like that, and you look at, I think, didn't Neuer a couple of years back get mentioned for it? Have I
Yeah, I
dreamt
think he
that?
finished second or third.
And did Van Dijk got a mention? And
Second
there
to
are
Messi,
yeah. So that they do get a mention, but it's I don't think you can look at a defender and compare him, because a striker, his job is to be selfish and to stand out. If the striker's doing well, then he is standing out. Whereas a defender, as you said, works in partnership. A lot of strikers now in the modern game are playing at top on their own, and I think it's a flawed system. But then you say that if the Ballon d'Or did change and we said we'd do the best defender, how then can you compare a centre back to a right back? And where does a right back become a right wing back? And where does the whole system is flawed, I think. I don't see how
you can, as positions and more as like an individual rather than you in this positional sense. It's more like what have you accomplished as an individual?
Yeah. But then it's difficult again.
That leans towards numbers, which it shouldn't necessarily, because we all know like numbers can give you so much information. But if you watch a game with your eyes, it can tell you more than numbers on a piece of paper or a computer screen can.
Yeah, stat padding. You have players across Europe who do stat pad, and I say that they get a lot of penalties and things like that. Or you've got to take into account with assists. Do they take set pieces? Is it all in open play? The more you delve into the stats, the more it tells about. But then just to an outsider, so and so scored X amount of goals, and the other one scored less. Well, that means the guy who scored the most is a better player. But I don't know. It's just I can't get my head around the system, and I don't know how it would ever change, because I don't think they can change the system really, and I don't think they ever would. But
no, it's been going on that long. It's like it's the most prestigious award in football for like
it's the most.
It's not going to change. It's all very secretive as well. I was reading about it the other day. So it originates from like the French sports publication or whatever, and like only one person knows who the winner is up until the night. We get all these leaks and stuff, but there's only one person that has like the information. It's like the chief exec or whatever.
It's a bit archaic, isn't it? Really, it's a bit odd.
Yeah.
It's just a very weird night. I usually just check Twitter the next day. It's not something I'd ever watch and keep up to date with. And I take it with a pinch of salt. It's interesting to see sometimes if it's close, but majority of the time, I think you can kind of tell really early on, can't you, who's realistically going to win it. And occasionally you do get a player here and there with it, and you think, oh, that's a bit of an odd one. Like, was it Modric that 1 year?
Nedved robbed Thierry Henry.
I knew you'd get this in. I knew this would come in. I knew you were going to talk about this. I've heard you talk about this so many times.
Pavel Nedved, go and give it back to the king, the rightful owner of his Ballon d'Or.
Oh, geez. I knew you'd find a way of getting that in. And as soon as I've written Ballon d'Or, I was thinking, if I can try and stay clear of how people have stolen it from others. And then I've just fed it you, really, haven't I? I've flicked it up for you. You've just got to tap it in. So I apologise. I don't mean to get you started on that. But overall, really, Messi's going to win the Ballon d'Or, and it's a flawed system. That's what we can take really from that conversation. It's not exciting, is it really? Like, it's hard to get excited about, because I feel like what hasn't helped as well, it's been dominated by the same two players. And that's not a problem. Obviously, those two players have been out of this world. Messi and Ronaldo, the two of them, are on another planet. And this is not a discussion of who's better. Those two are unreal. And I think it's not helped then, because we've not really seen much change. So it's difficult to get excited about, because I think we probably will become more interesting in a few years' time when we see these two players eventually start to slow down and fall off, because then there'll be new crop coming through. But then again, it looks like it's going to be players like Mbappe. It doesn't look Mbappe, Haaland, maybe Foden, but maybe it might get more interesting. I might be just waffling, and it might never be interesting, because who knows, really.
I think when these two greats, we'll see like how lucky we've been over this 15, 20 year spell. Like, I don't think we'll ever see players as dominant as both of those have been again for a long time. Like, even you look at the world class players coming through. Yes, Haaland, Mbappe, Foden, like they are world class, but will they ever produce those numbers and those titles and have those battles? No chance.
And especially so early on, because Ronaldo and Messi both did it for such a sustained amount of time. They came onto the scene, and it was fast. You don't appreciate when you look at their stats.
Sorry, go on.
No, you carry on. You go for it. Mbappe, you talk and slander Mbappe.
I can come back.
What I was trying to say is, when you look at Messi and Ronaldo, they kind of came onto the scene, and when you look back at those numbers, when you actually delve deep into those numbers and you see those big figures and you just expect it, they're absurd. And when you think about how consistent they've had to be for so long and the ages they started at, these Mbappes and these new crops of talent coming through, they've got to do this for another 15, 16 years, basically, to be anywhere near and even be discussed. But I can't ever see us hitting another level with two players being so dominant, because I have to admit, I can't wait when they eventually do retire to watch all those compilations and to look back and really appreciate it, because I've always been one to not try and discuss the Messi and Ronaldo thing, because I'm all for just, let's just enjoy it rather than constantly arguing. I have my opinion of who I prefer, but I just want to appreciate them both, because I don't think we'll get this chance. And I've said it to you before, I've seen Ronaldo live and we're going to see Messi live, because it will be my biggest regret of my life. And that's not even an exaggeration, because I don't know why I haven't seen him before, and I need to see him play. I have to see him play. And that would kill me. I would hate it if I missed him, because he's been so class, hasn't he, for so long. Those Champions League nights and what he does with the ball. And Ronaldo, again, it's brilliant to watch. Both the two of them have just been brilliant. And I could get emotional talking about them, because we have been extremely lucky for so long. Oh, yeah. I'll just sit back now and I just all emotional. I'm welling up properly now. Like, go and talk about your Mbappe thing, then you're going to talk about. Sorry, mate, go for it.
Oh, yeah. I was just going to say, like, obviously he's in the French league, and we know we spoke about the French league before and the level of competition.
Yeah.
He's getting to that age now where you start to think he's kicking on, but he's still not even in the French league, he's still not putting up numbers like those two did early on in their careers.
Yeah. And the fact that Messi and Ronaldo have normalized those numbers, we just instantly think, oh, they're not, he's not good enough, he'll never be on the level. We need to appreciate Mbappe because he's playing unreal. But I think it just then even highlights more, I think that's what you're trying to say, if I've cut you up, how good Messi and Ronaldo are, because the players now who are class and they are ridiculous will never get to their standard. They're up on a pedestal and they're just looking down on everyone. So I'll just cut you up there, because I could just talk about Messi and Ronaldo. Carry on. Sorry, I'll cut you up.
No, I'm done.
I should be more professional than that, but it's hard to be professional when you're talking about two greats, two GOATs. And I usually don't like when people say GOATs, because it says greatest of all time. But I think the two of them can just be in the GOAT category. Yeah. And I think we need to do a tier list soon. We can do a tier list of like the world-class players at the moment. Tier list is always good. It always does good views as well. For some reason, tier list, people love them. They live for it. But we'll have to do that soon with the kind of the world-class players and what defines a world-class player. But talking about world-class players, best centre-backs in the Premier League. Oh, we can't do that. Mate, if we do that now, that's a whole podcast in itself. I could discuss that.
No, I'm not saying doing that.
Mate, that's a minefield. I've tried to before, and the stick I got, I'm staying clear of that topic. We can talk about that another time, because everyone defines world. I thought you said what defines. Yeah, what defines world class?
Tomiyasu is world class.
Oh, I heard you just say world class. Damn, I thought you said define world class. I was saying I cannot discuss that. Oh,
Tomiyasu, the boy.
Do you know what? I prefer that topic. I'll just agree to that, just to make me feel better. Jeez. I thought you were asking to have like a proper discussion then about what defines world class.
No. Go on.
Oh, we'll just blame your audio. But best centre-backs in the Premier League, we're still building these teams. We're allowed two. And if we don't agree on one of them straight away, this podcast is ending. That's it.
We're getting him, aren't we?
Please, just say the name. Just let me hear it.
Big Virgil.
Do you know what, when you said when you went to say big, then I thought you were going to say Ben White. I heard the B and I was like, no. But no, Virgil van Dijk. He has changed the art of defending. I think he's one of those players that just screams a new philosophy of football. The passing out play, the speed, the physicality, the leadership. He's just so consistent, and wow, what a player. I'm presuming you just agree with everything I've just said there. There's not much really to discuss.
No,
he's got it. It's his position.
He stands alone, like Prem centre-backs at the moment. He's probably world centre-backs at the moment. He's the best.
Yeah, I agree. Right now, I think he's the world's best defender. Okay, then who are you going then as with your second defender, your second centre-back? Because there are a lot of players right now. A lot of they're in a category where they are playing very well, but I'm just interested to hear who you've said now, because there's about 5 or 6 players that I've written down.
So I'm going to go for one, and it's probably a little bit controversial.
Ooh,
and I don't like it
for
because it's. I don't like bigging up Chelsea at
You're not
all.
going to. I swear, people are going to genuinely believe you are a Chelsea fan in disguise because you just pick. It's constant. It's just bleed blue, don't you?
Thiago Silva is just unreal at defending. He's just great. Even at his age, like I had doubts when he came. I was like, no, he's far too old. He's playing in France. I thought, no chance. But he's just unbelievable. Like the way he dispossesses people and just walks away with the ball. He's just calm. Everything he does is so calculated. Calm in possession as well, like good on the ball. You can see he's a leader. And for someone who's not like big in physical stature, he just like all those years of experience, probably at AC and PSG, like he's mastered the art of defending now.
No, I agree.
The way he's playing, like he's so crucial to Chelsea now. Like when you notice when he's not there, they don't quite look as secure at the back.
No, I agree. He's a very good, but I really like him. And as you said, it's how casual. It's like not. I really always struggle with this word. Not nonchalant. Oh my word.
Nonchalant.
Not. That's the word I was trying to say, and I was really struggling. I'm glad you saved me there. We'll say nonchalant. I'm just going to stop trying to say it. Casual. We'll just say casual. But the way he does, as you said, dispossessing. He never seems to be rash. Yes, he did last season, and he had moments. But this season, he's just been on another level. I love him, and he was one of the players that I put on potentially in my category, but he didn't make the cut because I'm not a Chelsea fan, you see. So I went for Laporte, and I think that's a bit left field again as well, you know.
I thought you were going to go Diaz.
No, I think Laporte is a better defender than Diaz, personally. I think Diaz. Is that is controversial actually. I'm not sitting on the fence again today.
I'm a bit with you on Diaz. Like I'm not completely convinced by him. I don't know.
I think
his impact was overstated a bit when he came in. I think because Laporte was injured long term. I think he came in and he was good, but everyone's he's the saviour of City's defence. He's the missing link. I was like, no, they've just had a bit of a. Laporte's been injured. Stone's had a bit of a wobbly patch, and he came in and made it solid. Like he's not.
Well, I think the reason why I think Diaz is seen as better, I think it's because subconsciously, if you see the way he like throws himself at blocks and things, and the way he dives around, he throws his body on the line. Whereas John Stones and Laporte are two very good players on the ball. Where, as you said, it's this casualness and the way they're just it's very effortless. Whereas Diaz, you can see the grit and the determination and everything he does. It's like it's for the cameras. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. The way he throws his body at things. You see the highlight reels of him coming through after a game, and he's blocked a shot, but we're watching the highlight 10 times. Whereas Laporte will block the shot and then pass it on. It's very casual. This guy changed nationalities and he's just unreal. He gets into a lot of squads. I need to stop saying unreal. I always say unreal about every player, and I'm trying to stop myself from saying that. I need to find some new words. But Laporte, it's casual, and I think what it is it's left-footed as well. I think a left-footed centre-back, you don't see them very often. And what he does, a lot of the attacks build from him. He's just very good on the ball and reads the game very well. He's not the fastest centre-back, but because of it, as you said, it's like Thiago Silva. Because of the way they can read the game, he just mops up quite casually. That's what I'd say personally. I don't know if you agree with Laporte as a potential shout.
No, I really like Laporte. And when he went had that long-term injury, City weren't the same after that, and it took them to get Diaz in to then look solid again at the back.
Yeah, no, I agree with that entirely.
Yeah, I like him. He's a very good defender.
Yeah, I think it's just a nice player to watch, isn't he? He's one of those players I think the best thing about a centre-back is if you don't notice them, they've had a good game. Whereas Diaz, you can't not notice him with the way he throws his body around and the way he roughs up defenders. Whereas Laporte just does go missing because everything he does is just expected. It's consistency. I hope I'm explaining myself right what I'm trying to say here. I think I'm beating around and waffling a little bit, but I know what I'm trying to say. But have you got anything else you'd like to add to this episode? Is there anything you want to say? It's been quite a casual episode here, I think. It's not been the best week and not the best week of football, and many topics have hit us, but I think we've summed up everything quite well, to be fair.
I've got nothing that jumps out at me.
Exactly. No, there's not much. I don't think there's anything else really you can add. And I think next week, by the time, I think with the fact that some teams will have played, will teams have played twice potentially by next week?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
We've got midweek fixtures. That's what we haven't done.
Oh, yes. Oh, there we go, actually.
Merseyside derby on Wednesday.
Yes.
Which doesn't look good for Everton because they're running the Merseyside derby is absolutely atrocious.
Awful. Never do well. Never do well.
I don't
And
think
Liverpool,
they've won in like 20 years or something at Anfield, definitely.
but are they aren't they at home at this one? I've written down they're at home, but this could be me. But I think right now
Everton are at home.
Right now, I don't think you want to be playing Liverpool. Well, you don't want to play them at any time, but the way Liverpool are playing right now, the way Alexander-Arnold just on his own, the amount of assists he's putting up as a player is just ridiculous. The whole squad looks strong at the moment with Liverpool's run and Liverpool's form. I wouldn't want to play, and I'd love to play against Everton if I was Liverpool right now. I think it is perfect for them. And I don't know when Calvert-Lewin's back. Do you have any idea when he's back?
Not yet.
I knew he's not back yet, but I'd be really worried because there's no one to occupy Van Dijk. There's no one to even. No one's going to really. Yeah, it really could be quite easy.
The way that Everton have been sitting back as well, they're literally just inviting Liverpool onto them.
And you don't want to be sat deep because players like Alexander-Arnold will whip a ball in no matter what.
Once those fullbacks, if you're deep, the fullbacks are up the pitch and they've pinned you in. There's just no escape. You've got Van Dijk patrolling the halfway line, probably with Fabinho as well. There's just no escape, especially if you haven't got an out ball like Calvert-Lewin. You are just pinned in your own half. Yeah, and it's a game that screams like Thiago because then he'll be able to beat the lines and play those little passes, those flicky passes. I would be worried. And I think that could be a game where Rafa, like you talk about Rafa Benitez and the fans. At home, they'll turn on him very quickly,
very fast. This could potentially be the final nail in the coffin where the fans just lose all hope, completely all hope. Because I think they're close to it anyway, if I'm honest, really. And I know we've spoken about it quite in detail at the start, but that's going to be a great game, and I'm excited for that one. It'd be interesting to see what comes out of that one. And then obviously the other game, Man United Arsenal, your team. You're away at United, is it? I think.
Yes, at Old Trafford.
Are you confident? What's your feeling towards this game?
If there's a time to play Man United, it's now, isn't it? You've got to be confident. Obviously, we've had the blip against Liverpool, but I think that's perfectly understandable, the form they're in. I think we've been playing well. You've got to go there a bit confident, especially seeing I don't know what this Ralph Ragnick, because it's his first game in charge. So we don't know. We have no idea what United are going to look like.
Yeah,
so it's almost a bit of a free hit. You just it's a chance to go to Old Trafford, have a go at them. New system. Obviously, we've got like a defined way of playing now. We're going to have a game plan. We're going to play out, try and get into those, like Smith Rowe, into those wide areas, see what happens. You've got to be confident.
Yeah, because if you watch much of that Man United Chelsea game, there's a lot of counter attacks, and that's the way they play. They sat deep. So you want to try and, as you said, get Smith Rowe and those kind of players in those little holes and those little gaps. And I think it will suit you quite well, to be honest, because if you do get this United side that supposedly, I don't want to pronounce his name wrong, but the new manager who's come in, the interim manager, supposedly what I've read online, because I'm not going to pretend that I've known much about him, really.
Absolutely nothing about him.
So what I've read online and what I've seen, everyone's talking about this high press game that is built everything on. It's all about pressure. It's all about being high up the pitch and high energy. Whereas we spoke about last week, I can't see the squad being built for this. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they kind of go about it, whether he changes his style or if he implements his style. And this could be a great game to play in because this could be very disjointed, players not knowing what they're supposed to be doing. So as you said, it could probably be the best time to play them, but then it could also be the new manager bounce. So I think you've got to take this game with a pinch of salt.
It's a tricky one. And obviously, we've had our flaws playing out from the back because we insist on doing it when people press high. But it is a risk and reward. If you beat that initial press, there's so much space up the field for the players like Smith Rowe and Saka to carry the ball, drive into space. You've got Aubameyang running in behind. that's what I think Arteta wants as the end goal. It's you play out. You've got the ability to play out. Doesn't matter who's pressing you, and then there's gaps everywhere. So it'll be interesting to see if they do try and press high early, and see if we can beat it. But
because you will get a couple of goals, because Man United look very vulnerable when they're high up the pitch, and that's the one thing I can't see it working. If you've got Maguire playing in the back four, and they cannot.
And then Ronaldo up front, who he's not going to press.
And I'm going to take one thing back. I did talk about last week about Cavani not being a great presser, and I have been told he is, and I have done a little bit of research into it. And actually, Cavani, yes, he hasn't got the legs for it, but he is quite a impressive presser. That's what I'll say, an impressive presser. So I'll take that back. He would suit the system, but you saw the whole hoo-ha when you don't play Ronaldo. The fans get angry. Everyone's talking about it, but in no position where a player should be bigger than the club. At the moment, he seems to. I can't believe the amount of coverage it got that he didn't start.
It was always going to happen, though, wasn't it? If you drop Ronaldo for the first time in a big game as well, like it was always. I don't know. Obviously, they had the big debate on Sky Sports about it. But like, if you Carrick, I just don't think you do it just because of look what it's done. It's asked so many questions like about Ronaldo and United. Like, I think you just keep him in there.
I was going to say, just keep stress free, isn't it? Like, really, just keep your head down, because you know he's not going to keep the job. Yeah, you know he's not going to stay in the job. So, confused me a little bit, but I didn't.
It's a strange one.
I know Man United to get a result, but I didn't look at that game and see that this thing everyone was going, oh, what a great result. Yes, it was a great result, but I didn't see anything from Man United.
Very well.
Yeah, I didn't see anything from Man United that made me think, that they could go somewhere. It came from a Jorginho error. That was literally it. And
they had one man back from a corner, like
Jorginho tries to bring it down.
One man back from a corner, which is just suicidal, really.
And then it was like 2v1 instantly then. And Jorginho, if you watch it back, what made me laugh, why shouldn't he even be in the Ballon d'Or contention? The fact he messed up. Have you seen the footage of him just standing there? He the touch is bad, and he just stands still. By the time the ball's hit the back of the net, he still hasn't left that the semicircle. Sorry, the centre circle, not the semicircle. The centre circle. He still hasn't left it. His head just goes down. He just watches it, and that's an individual player. That's not someone who plays for a team. So I was annoyed about that. Something like that bothers me. You've got to work for the team. But I don't know why this is Jorginho slander. He's a good player, so I don't know why I'm slagging him off today, and I feel bad for him. I apologise, mate, if you're listening. Shout out to you. We haven't given a shout out to anyone, so we'll just give him a shout out. Usually we're shouting out everyone. We've shouted out Tommy Asu, so fair play to that.
Of course.
As always, you know how it is. But this week,
got an assist the weekend.
Tommy Asu did.
Oh yes.
To be honest, mate, I didn't watch the Arsenal highlights. I didn't. Yeah. I saw the score. I don't know what it is. I don't like watching Newcastle. I just find the football just
a bit better since Howe. Like I've watched both of those,
which is what I need to get. I need to watch them. I watched them against obviously Brentford, and that was a really exciting game. But I just feel like this Steve Bruce and this whole like sad atmosphere that was created has just kind of just made me sad about watching them. They've been like last on Match of the Day for about 3 years, so I'd never get a chance to stay awake for that like final game. So they'll probably start moving up the order on Match of the Day. But now it should be interesting. So really big topics are going to come for next week, and I think next week we'll be fully loaded and ready. But I think we've answered everything we need to talk about. We've said everything we need to say. I'm off to this week, but I'm going to go to Southport tomorrow, and then Saturday I'm not sure where I'm going yet, so I'm going to leave that open. Let me know, guys. Let me know where you fancy me going. I think I looked at Crewe potentially, but I'm not entirely sure yet. Are you off to any games this week? Are you playing yourself?
No games this week. I'll be playing on Sunday. Yes, Sunday, of course, up the Razzers.
Of course, exactly, up the Rangers.
Big game, actually. Big game.
Why is big? What? I need to know. Tell me. Why is it a big game for us?
Playing the team one place above us, I think. Couple of points above us.
Guys, we're going to be in a good mood next week because we're going to win. I've got confidence in us. We had a good cup result this week, guys.
Sam's first goal.
It's not going to happen, is it? Let's be honest. I'm not a goal scorer, guys. I just bring the vibes. That's all I'm there for. Just vibes. Vibes and a Guinness after. That's my job. Turn up, have a Guinness after. That's what my job is, really. Let's be honest.
Can we have a Don't mind if I diddly do, please.
Is it because I just said Guinness that saying don't? Actually, I can tell you how much it was. I think it was £3.95. So what I'd say is I go £3.95 Guinness. Don't mind if I diddly do. I've never done that in front of somebody like that. Like actually looked at somebody in the eye and did that. I felt quite uncomfortable doing that. I don't know why I didn't like that. I hope you enjoyed that because that was quite uncomfortable.
Yeah,
for me.
it was quite good.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. And I hope everyone enjoyed this podcast episode. If you haven't already, guys, go and check out Mike's football shop. The link to it will football shirt shop. Geez, I made that really difficult. The link to that will be in the description below, guys. Go check it out. Go follow it. Some really good shirts on there. And if you haven't already, follow the podcast on whether you're listening on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you are, Deezer, Amazon. Follow us. And if you're listening on YouTube, smash that like button and subscribe. Thank you, Mike, for coming on again. I don't know why. It's just...
Thanks to all the Bucketeers for listening.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks to the Bucketeers. Shout out to all of you. And I will speak to you next week, mate. Have a good week. Up the baggies. And hopefully Arsenal have a good result. And we'll all be happy. Boing. Exactly. Boing, boing, guys. See you next week. BucketHatSam over now. Goodbye. Up the baggies.